Hi everyone and welcome to the channel, and today I'm going to talk about the coronavirus. I'm making this video because a number of you have put in the comments that you'd like me to comment about the coronavirus, the novel coronavirus that is now hitting China as we speak. And I'm talking today on the 28th of January 2020. Now, I didn't put it in my predictions for this year. However, if you look back at my earlier predictions, and in particular the predictions I made on the newspaper, the Sun's website, I did actually say on there, the actual words were, there will be a flu epidemic linked to bioterrorism. Now, I don't want to worry you because I don't think that is the case actually with what we've got here, but it is an interesting thing that it's happened in 2020, isn't it? Because the plague actually ended. Well, the last major epidemic of the plague was in 1720 with the plague of Marseille. That was a significant outbreak that killed 100,000 people just in the city of Marseille. And then in 1820 we had the first cholera pandemic, which killed 100,000 people in Java. It spread right across Thailand, Indonesia and the Philippines. And then in 1920, of course, after all the terrors of the First World War, we then had the Spanish flu, and that killed more people than the whole First World War, I believe. I mean, the figures were 500 million people were infected, and it killed 100 million people. I mean, those are astronomical figures, aren't they? The Spanish flu was absolutely horrifying in its time. Okay, so 1720, 1820, 1920, what about 2020? Because all of these have a sort of certain similarity to them in that they've all, in one way or another, been caused to us through animals. You know, in particular the fleas from the rats in the bubonic plague, for example. And this one we have now with the novel coronavirus started in the seafood warehouse and has now spread because I've been selling infected wild animals that's then jumped to the human as a human virus, and particularly because it's a airborne virus too, it's particularly dangerous because it's much harder to contain. So what do I feel about it? You know, I made those predictions back in the Sun, and at that time I was saying that I felt as if there would be something connected with North Korea, that they were going to release something, but I was wrong then. I might have just seen part of it, perhaps, of what we've got now, because frankly something like this has been waiting to happen for a long time, because we have world travel. We are also in a position almost where we're running out of usable antibiotics because we've overused them again on animals mainly, but also just to fatten them up to make the meat more juicy. So we've misused these wonderful things and misused them on humans as well, because everybody has a antibiotic when we catch the common cold. However, you know, I don't want to be a prophet of doom on this. My feeling is that it's going to be all right. In fact, in a few weeks' time, I'm off to India, and I know some of my family, my daughter in particular, is very, very worried about this epidemic because we have a type 1 diabetes young grandchild. If you've read my book, God is Everywhere, you'll know his story and about how, you know, what the Naadi said about his awful illness. And of course, when we hear on the news, you know, only the vulnerable are being affected by this, old people and young children and people with preconditions, you know, you think, well, just a minute, I can name a lot of people like that, particularly in my own family. So I'm off to India, and of course one worries there because it has not as easy to control in such a big population if there's a big epidemic outbreak there as well. But I think my gut feeling is about this that people are just panicking. They've taken a plague mentality in China, shutting down cities and villages, putting up their own walls, I read, and things like this. And already here in the UK, people are worrying about taking flights. I mean, I know people that are scared to buy Chinese food because they're just even concerned about that, or even buy products sent in from China. So yeah, obviously I can understand people worrying, but my feeling is it's not going to be a killer epidemic on the scale of anything like the Spanish flu was, or the cholera pandemic, or the plague of Marseille. You know, my sense is, I want to say that not only will it become reasonably quickly contained, I mean, it will spread around the world. It's inevitable. It's going to happen because you can't help it but jump between countries. But my sense is that people are panicking a little bit unduly on this. My feeling is it's not going to be the big one. I mean, not to say that one day we won't have something like this, because this is perhaps a little bit of a warning for us about the potential dangers of modern society, and in particular our abuse of antibiotics, which could be a bigger problem than something like this. So that's my feelings about this, and so please feel a little bit reassured, because that's my feeling. It's not going to go away, but I don't think, my sense is, it's not as big a killer as people fear. Obviously it will affect some people badly and could kill a lot of people in China's and places like that, and perhaps around the world if it hits the vulnerable. But when you compare the figures of this with the type of figures that you get from people that die from ordinary flu, you know, it's very easily to start to get things out of proportion when you hear of thousands of people or even millions of people affected. Look at the figures carefully. That's what I have to say. Don't panic. Okay, thank you. Oh, and I mentioned the book with my grandson in it. You know, like I said about, I got a grandson that has type 1 diabetes, and we had a pretty frightening sort of Naadi oracle about him. Basically it gave a warning that he would die unless he saw a holy man within a certain period of time. And in that Naadi reading, and those of you that followed this channel know about my interest in the Naadis, it said that we'd have to see a holy man very quickly, and it just so happened a holy man was visiting. Well, in this book I tell the optimistic story of trying to overcome this terrible thing what happens with type 1 diabetes, and it's in my book, God is Everywhere. So have a look at that one, because I always push a book on these because I'm an author, so I want to tell you about the books. But this is a short little book. You can read it in a day or so, and I feel it's a very optimistic story. And we are, through the PATRON system on this site, also going to be raising some money for diabetes, and I'm going to ask you to help us to raise some money from diabetes. What we're basically planning, and we're having to work it out at the moment, is to put some televisions into one of the wards. But anyway, we'll tell you more about that later. It might possibly be cancer. We'll see how it goes. We're working on how we're going to work this. But we want to do something, put something back in the world. So keep following the channel, and thank you for those of you that have become patrons and are already helping with some of our mandates. Thank you. See you later. Bye for now. Oh, and don't forget, if you're new, follow this channel. Click that little bell thing at the bottom there, and you'll get updates every time we put up a new video. My wife Jane and I do our public work for free. We raise money through the theatres to raise money for our Hamilton Parker Foundation. This is a not-for-profit company that is soon to be registered as a charity. Now, our work is going in to help with the objectives of this charity, but you can help us as well by becoming what we call a patron of this channel. Now, as a patron, you'll get, first of all sorts of really interesting benefits. You'll have a sort of behind the scenes look at what goes on with our work. You'll get videos before other people. You'll get new videos. You'll get all sorts of benefits that are explained in the Patron website, and it has various tiers that you can subscribe to. So you can subscribe to just a little bit and get a few benefits, or you can subscribe a lot and get a lot of benefits. And what this means is that we can raise some money through this channel. Now, this money's not going to me and Jane to give us a fancy lifestyle. This money is going into our foundation that has some fantastic objectives. Now, the first thing we want to do with the foundation is first of all get a cyber center together, a cyber temple as it were, a place where we can introduce new people to you through this channel. So by supporting this channel and giving something to the as a patron, you will find that this channel will start to get better and better content with more and more interesting things going on. We'll be able to get the cameras, we'll be able to have the space, we'll be able to have the right setting where we can build the energy to do things such as mediumistic circles and so forth online. But also our work extends further than that, because we are hoping ultimately to build a spiritual center, a psychic ashram as it were, where people like you can come to visit and take part in an interactive way through this channel as well. But also we are doing a lot of what we call spiritual service. We are going out and giving a large part of the income we generate to people in India who are destitute. We've given to schools, we've fed children that are in need, we've helped mentally handicapped people, we've given cows to old people in India. Some of all this you'd have seen in my movie Mystic Journey to India on Amazon. But all of this is part of our mission, part of our remit to help the world. Because we're not only trying to find our divine nature, we're also trying to live what we learn and express it in ways that are really beneficial to the world. So if you follow this channel, but more importantly, if you become a patron of this channel, you can help us to take this whole mission onto a much higher level than any psychic work has ever been done before.